Hello and welcome to the Keiwear Show, where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm your host, Keisha Mayo. And as I always say, we have a great show for you on today. Today, we have author TONEIKA Williams. I'm so happy she accepted my invitation. Welcome to the show, TONEIKA, and please introduce yourself to my viewers.
Thank you so much, Keisha, for having me. My
Yes.
name is TONEIKA Williams, and I am a author. I am an author of my very own book, which is called Gratefully Broken, and I co-authored 3 books. So I am just happy today to be a part of the show and just tell a little bit about my life and my testimony, and yeah, let's just vibe out.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do
And I'm
it.
so happy you're on. We met through Pastor Teresa Critchlow, and I
Yes.
believe that it was a divine connection. I mean, you're just an amazing young woman. You
Thank
have done
you.
some great things, and that's why I wanted you to come on the show and just tell the viewers, who you are. But we're gonna start off with, where were you born and raised?
So I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from my mom, she was a young teenage mom and just navigating through the streets of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, do or
Uh-huh.
die. And to my father, he was a playboy, and they just met in they met in high school. They was high school sweethearts, and that was like pretty much it. And they created me. So yeah, born and raised
Okay,
in
and are you the
Brooklyn.
only child?
So I'm the only child on my mother's side,
Uh-huh.
but on my father's side, no, I have a brother and a sister, but we're not as close as I would like to be.
Oh, okay. Now
Yes.
listen, were you raised in the church, Tanika? Because I know you're a Christian, but were you raised in the church?
I am a Christian. Oh man. So my grandmother, she basically raised me in the church. My
Hmm.
grandmother was a praying woman. It's so funny that yesterday me and my friend was having a conversation, and we was just saying, how the prayers of our grandmothers are still like living strong and living through us. My
Yes.
grandmother would literally sit at the table every day with her Bible, just
Hmm.
going through the different books. So yes, I grew up in church. My grandmother had me in church from a young child. I was on the usher board, the choir.
Hmm.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's something about them grandmother prayers, boy, and they still being answered even today. So we thank God for those faithful grandmothers that truly love the Lord and they love their family. So
Yes.
that was my grandma. My grandmother was the same way. I would see her, on the floor crying out to God. So that's
Come
where we
on.
our relationship. We follow them, because we watch how they lived and we saw how God, delivered them out of so many things, just because of their faith. So that's where we get our faith from. So I know you're just grateful for your grandmother. But, who was your inspiration growing up?
I would say my grandmother. My
Hmm.
grandmother. And even though as me getting older, like I navigated, like I wanted to do my own thing. There were certain things that I was battling, like insecurities and self-esteem issues. So I kind of, deviated from the church scene. But the like we just said, the prayers of my grandmother and just her being that go-to person in my life, just always seeing her dedicated in the church, serving in the church, reading her Bible, being a pillar for her family. I was just like, even though I have my certain little things going on now, but this is who I'm gonna end up being just like. And if my grandmother could see me now, she would be very proud because the person who was running away from the church is now, knee deep in it.
But that's how it go, right? When you run, that's the one God want.
Don't make me
When you
start
try
laughing.
to run.
What? He'd
But
be
you
like,
know
"Where you
what?
going?"
Huh?
I said, "He'd be like, where you going? You mine."
Uh-huh. And thank God, you're obedient, and that's why God is doing so
Mhm.
many great things for you because of your obedience. But let's talk about your book now.
Okay, let's get
Yeah.
into
So,
my
what made you
book.
want to become an author?
Okay, so let me show you my book real quick.
Right.
Gratefully Broken. This is my baby. What made me want to become an author? Okay, so let's be honest. Let's be transparent. I feel like my life has been pretty crazy throughout the years. And
Mm,
I would always joke to people and be like, my life is like a story. My life should be a book or a movie because I've been through so many things and I see how God has his hand on me. And you know what I mean? Like, even though I was, doing things I was supposed to do and just navigating, he never took
mhm.
his hand off of me. So it's just like during the pandemic, I was going through a very tough season. I had turned, I don't want to be giving up my age, but I had turned excuse me. I had turned 33, and it's something about that age 33, like God definitely I feel like he purged me, and he got me to where he needed me to be. During the pandemic, I was by myself for 6 months in a home, and I had just gone through a really crazy breakup with someone who I can't say I shouldn't have been with him because he did teach me a lot. However, it was definitely a lot of like hard lessons in that situation. So during the pandemic, I wrote my book, and I just brought everything to life to help different people with my trauma.
Wow. And is without going so deep into the book, is it something that, you can give the viewers, something that will make them want to get it? Because, nothing is new under the sun. And
Of
God
course.
always gives us a testimony for somebody else.
Okay.
So, it's
Yes.
probably someone sitting there saying, you know what, I'm going through that now, but if she made it, I can make it too. Is there something that you, just a little
Yes.
bit, so
Just
they
a
can
little
go out and
bit.
get that book gracefully broken? Because look at you. You look
Yes.
beautiful.
Thank
It's like you don't
you.
look like what you've been through.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. All right, so okay, I'll take you through maybe like two or three different points.
Uh-huh.
Like I was telling before, you never know what someone is going through inside. So,
Hmm.
gratefully broken is basically about my pieces that God has healed and put back together. Things I have
Hmm.
dealt with: low self-esteem, anxiety, witchcraft.
Mm.
I was in relationships, and I've you know witchcraft and being with
Hmm.
people who were supposed to be my friends, and doing certain things that I had no business that they were doing. So God had me in this place, and it was like a incubator. There was a lot of spiritual warfare going on, and some of the other things I went through, daddy issues.
Hmm.
Okay, so my father, he had these he was in and out of the prison system since I was like 3 years old. So I
Hmm.
I suffered from, I feel like the low self-esteem came from me not having that love of a father that I
Right.
needed. And I sought attention from different places that I had no business getting that attention from. So my book is speaking to the people who feel broken, the people who feel like they're the underdogs, the people who feel like God can't piece them back together. I'm here to tell you he can and he will,
Right.
but you just gotta surrender.
So, Tanika, your book is nonfiction, right?
Yes, my book is nonfiction. And yeah, 100% true. Everything that I wrote, I definitely been there, excuse me. So
Uh-huh.
from the, like I was stating before, from the witchcraft, um everything I was going through was going on during the pandemic. So like I told you,
Hmm.
I was 6 months in a home alone after going through a crazy breakup. So
Hmm.
you'll get a taste of everything. You'll get a taste of, how God had me on my face, how God was
Hmm.
basically delivering me from past trauma. So he
Hmm.
was taking me through a full process. He was purging me, he was delivering me. He was just
Hmm.
getting all that gunk out so I can be who you see today, healed
Right.
and you know what I mean, just loving on myself. So yes, everything is totally true in the book.
Right. And now, what made you want to tell your story? Because a lot of times when we go through a lot of things, like you said, that junk, when you're going through, certain things like that, that's something you don't want the world to know. You want people to, look at how you dress.
Mhm.
Oh, she's nice, she's friendly. But what was the moment when you said, you know what, I want to put this, I want to pin this so this could be a blessing to somebody else? What made you put your story out there?
Right. Okay, so I am a firm believer that what we go through, we're not just going through it for ourselves. We're going through
Mhm.
it for, you know what I mean? Like we're called to a people. And I want my people to know, like, listen, she went through it and she didn't get through it by herself. God got through it. God got her
Mhm.
through it. So if he could do it for me, he could do it for you. I needed to get this story out to allow people to know that you cannot do it on your own.
Mhm.
When you surrender and you know
Mhm.
what I mean, you just lay your burdens at his feet, like he's
Mhm.
going to hold you down. So I just needed
Right.
people to know that it ain't about you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It ain't about you. It ain't about me. It's about him and how he's gonna help you. And that's what happened.
Right. And now what kind of feedback, are you praying, to get, from people who've read your book?
Oh my goodness. You know what's crazy? So some of this I've been getting some great feedback, to be honest.
Mhm.
It's so okay, let me tell you a quick little story.
Mhm.
So when my mother was younger, you know what I mean? She was the hot girl, you know, she was very pretty and she she was very pretty. She always dressed nice and like all the, you know what I mean, all the hustlers in Brooklyn, they all wanted her. Like she was the it girl.
Mhm.
So she had this guy that she was dating and he's in the book. She had this guy that he was dating. He was pretty abusive to my mom when I
Mhm.
was younger. And I still remember these thoughts, you know what I mean? And I always thought, like, this is the type of relationship I don't want. Crazy as is, he was always very memorable to me because when we were younger, he would come pick us up in limousines. We would go shopping and out to eat at these beautiful places. He would wine and dine my mom, and I had little
Mhm.
minks and stuff like that when I was little. Like he kept us going. All right. So I put him in the book. Okay. So I
Mhm.
put him in the book. I changed his name. And one day I get a random Facebook message and it's him. And
Wow.
it's him and he just was introducing himself again, like, I hope you didn't forget me. I'm like, of course I didn't forget you. I wrote you in a book and you know, whatever. So he ended up showing up to my book signing unannounced and just it was just so crazy. And
Mhm.
after the fact he told me, you helped me. You know what I mean? Like I was going through situations with my mom at the time when I started reading your book and I just wanted to forgive her. That was a big thing in my book also, forgiveness.
Mhm.
Like our
Mhm.
parents, they are still learning and growing from things that they, might not
Right.
have gotten when they were young. And
Mhm.
I was just like, you know what I mean? I wanted to share that with people. Forgive your parents because they
Right.
are learning and growing just like us. So he told me that helped him. And it's been several other testimonies like, Tanika,
Mhm.
you really helped us.
Right. And then that's confirmation to you to let you know that you're on the right path, that you were obedient and you did what he told you to do. And look at, you reaping, the benefits of, saying, God, okay, I'll put this out there to help somebody. But I know
Absolutely.
this is not your first book, right? I mean, you have another book, I believe.
My very first book, so Gratefully Broken, was actually my second book. But my first book that I wrote on my own, my
Mm-hmm.
first book was Unmute Yourself. And that was a book with myself and 21 other women. We were just sharing our testimonies. And then there came From Hurt to Healing. And the
Mm-hmm.
last book that I did also was a co-author book. It's called Tuesdays at 7. And
Mm-hmm.
I have this book right here. This is my prayer journal. 14
Oh,
days
okay.
of prayer and intimacy. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. And so what do you have in store? You working on any more books?
So, okay. So my journey has been amazing. My thing is I'm a lover for children at core. Like that's who I am.
Right.
I was working with children. I'm back in the classroom now. I'm a special education teacher. And
Okay.
before this I was teaching 5 years as a paraprofessional. Now I just
Mhm.
started a children's series.
Mhm.
So I have a 501c3 and it's called Worldwide Hugs. I have a mascot. His name is Hugging Bear. So I wanted to write books for Hugging Bear, what he does in the community, how he deals with social emotional learning and things of
Right.
that nature. So I my first children's book is coming out and I want to say about 5 days. I'm going to start pushing that
Oh,
now.
awesome. And
Yes.
what's the name of it?
It's called Hugging Bear Cares, Actions and Reactions.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
So listen, if working with special need kids, I'm sure that has to deal with having a lot of patience.
Yes,
Right?
yes, my patience.
So,
Yes, my patience is, yeah,
so
top tier.
what, that's something you always wanted to do, or, because I look at when we graduate from college, a lot of times we never go into the field that we study. I know
I
I
agree.
didn't. I
Mm-hmm.
graduated, with an economics degree.
Mm-hmm.
So we never go into the field. So is this something that you always wanted to do, or this was like, you know what, let me try this. I love working with kids, but okay, this door opened to work with special needs. Is this
Mm-hmm.
something you always wanted to do?
This is something I always wanted to do. So I always knew that I wanted to teach. I always knew, I have a love for children. I wanted to be in a classroom. I wanted to pour into children. I felt like I wanted to bring, it's not just a job, it's a passion. So I felt
Mm-hmm.
like I wanted to be the person who I needed, when I was growing up. And it
Mm-hmm.
comes from like a pure heart. Like I want to be a mentor, a teacher, a leader. I wanted to help these children.
Right.
And
And how long you been teaching?
so I was in the board of education for 5 years as a paraprofessional. I was working
Mm-hmm.
with special needs, but when I went back to school and got my bachelor's, I was like, you know what? I want to get in. I want to lead. So I literally just started being a special education teacher, leading my own classroom for maybe like 2 weeks. and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I feel like I'm a mouthpiece. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
the mouthpiece for the children. So,
Right.
sometimes they can't express themselves, and I feel like we're like one. Like sometimes I know the needs before they even say it, and that's when you're a real leader because you know
You can
the
feel it.
you can feel it in the population. You just know.
Uh-huh. And that discernment, God giving you that discernment to
Yes.
see. Yep.
Yes.
And I know you also out there in the community. I see you, giving back, and, talk about that because you're doing
Okay.
some good things.
Yes, thank you. So I have a 501(c)(3), and it's called Worldwide Hugs. Worldwide Hugs came to life during the pandemic. Like I told you, God was just, He was purging me and birthing me at the same time. He birthed me with so much purpose. And when I
Mhm.
surrendered and I gave him my yes, he was like, "All right, you okay, we doing things my way now. I got
Right.
something for you. I got it. I got it." So he birthed me. Like I always knew I wanted to like my love language, my passion is cooking for people. I love to cook.
Hmm.
So during the pandemic, I would just, whether it was making sandwiches and just making like little care packages or making hot food and just going to pass it out to, homeless people in the community. That's
Hmm.
what I was doing. So now I do it consistently. I try to do it like once a month, or just sometimes I'll just say I just want to cook and just go out. So
Hmm.
I'll go to like different shelters, and I'll just go, pass out hot meals. Like me and friends will get together, or me and
Hmm.
volunteers will get together, and we'll just give personal care items and food to people in need.
Hmm.
And also, okay, so my Worldwide Hugs is community outreach, mentorship, and senior care. So we're just trying to expand right now and do God's will.
Right. Right. And I
Hmm.
know at one time you moved to Chicago. You
I
know,
moved to
what
Chicago.
made you go out there?
Okay, so I feel like everything that I do, not even I feel like everything I do is God led.
Hmm.
When you're praying and you're creating that intimacy with God, like He's gonna definitely pour into you, and He's gonna pour into you, and He's gonna let you know His plan. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And sometimes we think it's all about us and what we're doing, but we have to be led, because if we think go on our own understanding, we'll just be doing things, out of His will. So
Right.
once you spend that time, and God would just tell you. So to be honest, I went to Chicago one time for like a business expo,
Hmm.
and then after that, like God was just putting it in my spirit, like you're gonna spend some time in Chicago, like this is where I need you to be. And I was I was working in a school in one of the most infamous areas, Inglewood. People was like, and it's funny, I still haven't told that many people that's where I went, but that's where I was
Hmm.
led. So
Hmm.
God was like, you know what, no matter where you go, I'm gonna protect you. And this story, people are gonna laugh at it, but they're gonna know I had my hand on you the whole time. So I was
Right.
out there meeting amazing people and serving these children, and it was a
Mm-hmm.
time like it was definitely a time. I had a great time in Chicago.
Wow, that's awesome. And
Yes.
what was it that made you want to come back to New York? Because I think you spent a year out there, right?
I was in Chicago
Yeah.
for 1 year. My family and friends thought I was crazy. I literally I packed up everything. I had just got a new apartment. I was there for like 1 year
Mm-hmm.
in Brooklyn. And then next thing you know, like I said, I went to the business event that I went to,
Mm-hmm.
and then I fell in love with Chicago. But then God was still saying, you know, go there. Like I said, people thought I was crazy,
Right.
but I was just like, this is what God wants me to do. And even though I
Mm-hmm.
don't fully understand it, wherever He sends you, He's going to send provision. He's going to, bring people to align with the purpose He has for you. So just do what you got to do. You might not understand it now, but
Right.
God is with you. So
Right.
yeah, I stayed there
Yeah.
for 1 year, and it was, yeah, it was a
Yeah. And
time.
he's like you say, he sent you out there. You were supposed to get something from out there. There was a purpose and a reason for you to be out there. And like you said,
Yes.
God will show it to you where you sit there and be like, oh, that's why I had to go out there. So it was something, it was a reason and a purpose. And
Yes.
thank God you're back now.
Yes. But
But I
my
want
my
to ask you,
family.
what do you feel is one of your greatest accomplishments?
Hmm. What do I feel is one of my greatest accomplishments? I would just say, to right now, I would say just being able to share my story, being able
Mhm.
to share my story and change and help with the grace of God and the mercy of God, help people change the trajectory of their lives. Because it could
Mhm.
be small things that we have hidden inside us that we don't know is blocking us from getting to what God needs us to do. So when
Right.
people read my book and they see these raw and transparent moments, they're gonna be like, you know what? Like she's not capping. Like she's real, and I'm
Mhm.
giving y'all some ugly stuff. Like I'm giving y'all the real deal. So when y'all see that, listen, God brought her through it. So who am I? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can do it too. So my greatest the greatest thing I have done to this date, I feel like, is just writing my book and sharing my ugly moments and my transparency with the purpose of helping people change.
And I know you also have a desire, or you said you pray one day that your book could be turned into a movie. So are you going to be working on that?
I am gonna be working on that. I'm gonna be working on that. And I wanna also like you, so I feel like I wanna eventually, I know you got so much amazing stuff going on right now.
Thank
So
you.
eventually I wanna talk with you too. Like, maybe you could help me and give me some pointers on
Mhm.
like plays and different stuff too. Cause I know for a fact that God connected us for a reason. So like
Mhm.
I'm just like in awe with the things that you're doing in your grind. So yes, eventually I would
Thank you.
love to turn. You're welcome. Eventually, yes, I would love to turn my book into a movie. I would love to turn it in, like different plays and children's plays, and it's so much
Mhm.
that God has in me.
Mhm.
And I always been praying that God just send me people who I can learn from. Send me
Mhm.
people who, you know what I mean, like I can connect with.
Right.
And He's doing just that. And this interview right now is, a answered promise.
Hmm. And
Hmm.
and I give God all the glory for what He has me doing, because a lot of the stuff
Man.
I'm doing was never a desire of mine. I always tell people I thought I was going to be somebody's background singer. I didn't even want to be in the front. I wanted to be in the back, But God, He has other plans for us, and we thank God for the plan that He has, for our lives, and we just want Him to keep ordering our steps. But what mark do you want to make in life?
The mark that I want to make in life is just allowing people to see through me, that even
Mhm.
when I feel like I want to give up, or I want to give up on myself, like God doesn't. So the mark I want to make in life is just showing people you can do it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You can do whatever you put your mind to. Just surrender. You know what I mean? Ask God for His plan, and He is going to push you in areas you could never imagine. And it's so crazy. um like just like you said, you never wanted to be, in the front. You always want to be pretty much in the background. And that's the same thing. That's my story, because I've always been an introverted person. I've always been a shy person. I've always, well, back in the day, I've suffered with low self-esteem. I never wanted to be this in the front person just doing the things that
I
I'm
know
doing.
that.
But God would do it. You know what I mean? Look at
Uh-huh.
Moses. Moses had a problem with stuttering, and Moses was front line. So it was just like, you got to do it.
Right. That's
Yeah.
like when I was on the billboard, I had just said to the Lord, I said, listen, I don't want to do this no more. I don't like being out in the front. And then here I'm on a billboard. Like, what? You know? But TONEIKA, what advice do you have for young people?
Oh man, my advice to young people are, you are enough. You know what I mean? You are enough. You don't have to portray to be somebody you're not. You don't have to give up
Right.
your body. You don't have to, set this image. You don't have to follow trends. You are
Right.
unique. You are wonderfully made.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like God has your back. You know what I mean? And yeah, I also want people to know you're never too young to have a prayer life. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, so listen, you might say, "Hey, I want to be a YouTuber. They make money." But you might say, "I want to be this. I want to be that. I want to be whatever you want to be." Just think about it. If you give your plan to God, He's gonna supersede what
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
He'll make you CEOs of companies and this and that.
You're right.
Like, just give it to God. That's
Right.
how I feel. Just give it to Him.
Yeah. Well, TONEIKA, I thank you so much for coming on the show today. I tell you, the time just goes so quick when you're having a good time, right?
Yes, I agree.
But I
I
just
surely
want to
did.
thank you and thank my viewers for tuning in. And I just encourage you all to, join in with me next week for another episode of the Keiwear Show. You can follow me on all social media platforms and on the internet. And I know some of you are asking, well, how are we going to get her book? So her information, TONEIKA Williams, it will be listed in the credits. She'll have her email, her social media websites, and also where you can find her book. So we encourage y'all all to have a blessed day. Come back again, like I said, next week for another episode of the Keiwear Show. And God bless you all. Keiwear is the key to knowledge. Have a blessed day.
Hey everybody, I'm JD Jenkins, multi-platinum producer, songwriter, and artist, and you are watching the Keiwear Show.
Hi, we're Lord, and you're watching the Keiwear Show.
Hi, I'm Bishop Richard W. Curtis. I'm the senior pastor of Gospel Mission Ministries in the Bronx, New York. You're watching the Keiwear Show.